Dude,
Hello.
you know what? Guess what? The video, the conversation we had yesterday, it got crypted. I don't know what. So when I tried to, I tried it, I downloaded it, and it just started. It wouldn't. I couldn't hear anything. I'm like,
Seriously?
oh man, we had such a great conversation yesterday.
The best content just went
And
through.
I couldn't post it. I was like, oh my goodness.
Uh,
I was so angry. And I went back and I looked, I deleted what I downloaded and I went back to TikTok to try to get it again. I'm like, did this thing got corrupt or something? The picture just went crazy.
have you tried it today?
No, I didn't try it today because I was like,
Yeah.
I spent almost an hour trying to figure out what if I press something or I mean
Actually,
this is
sometimes it's just so weird because sometimes it's just a bug or something.
it could be just a bug at TikTok, but but
Yeah.
but I was like I was so angry, not angry to the point I was like what are you gonna do about it? But I was
Yeah,
like
frustrated or something.
yeah I was more frustrated and I was like you and there was this young lady I spoke with, and she wanted to get some contents out there and just to introduce herself. I was like, let me do it, and I said, okay, great, and there was a good content, and I tried to download it. Others I could download and I put up there. There was this lady in Singapore that I spoke to, young lady, and she went in now she's sharing it. She's using the content. I'm like,
Okay.
because I'm like, it's cool,
Of course, it's content that gives your followers something to look, use their time on. And when it's like talks or when it's conversations that's like deep or has some points, it can help people, and not just how are you? Are you good? It's of course it's nice with that as well, but whenever we talked about matters that were kind of important to some people.
Exactly,
Uh,
and that's what every time I open up my channel, or press the host, somebody comes on want to play video, games. I'm like, no, I'm not. No, I just move on. You want to play a game, move on. But once in a while, out of every 10 or 15 clicks, but that I pushed away, there's always one that wanted to talk, just have a conversation. And I was talking to a young lady before. She was in Nigeria, but the only thing she wanted to do is like she wanted more like pick me up. Stop. No, no.
yeah, exactly.
Just a conversation, just a regular conversation. You may be having a bad day or a good day or whatever it may be. I just want to just simply express something. Go ahead.
Exactly. And by expressing, you can help somebody as well. So it's like two flies in one matter.
And what I do is I also put it on my YouTube channel. It's called social media. Yeah,
Okay.
because whatever I take from here, I just throw on my. If people want to watch it, fine. They don't want to watch it, fine. But here I have it both places because just in case something was to happen on TikTok, I have the contents there. And sometimes I put it on X also, just to boost that. But
Okay.
I have a thing whenever I get certain contents. If I feel really good about it, I will promote it, and then it will hit even 50, 60, 100,000 views.
Of course,
So
of course.
it all depends on how I feel about that. Who should if I feel like I should push it out there in the world.
Of course.
But
I think like this, the content, of course, 15, 100,000 views it's very, it's like good to see that people are like watching you and things like that. But if it's 1,000 and like five people are taking some lessons from your lessons or taking up something that can help them, I think you're doing a great job even there,
I yeah.
so I think it's a very beautiful thing that and I think it's a bit, it's a responsibility for us as content creators, you know, to make the best of it. Not just like you said, you know, can we play a match? Oh, I'm gonna win. Oh, send me this. But I have tried to do this in the days, you know. Of course, I can play some match, but on the days, you know, before like 7, 8 o'clock or something, I try to talk with people,
Yeah.
whatever it would be. Is it about business? I can like manage to maybe give you some ideas, and I will take ideas and inspiration as well. So it's not like I'm only giving, because
Right.
that would be like quite not so funny, you know, just giving. But I take some ideas, and maybe just like one word can give me another thought that can help me like to resolve some problem. And if we can do the same for our, you know, who's watching us, I think then we are like doing something good at least.
That's exactly how I feel. Even though I said I'm not going to see, once you start playing the games, you don't have to post it, but you kind of like, it takes up so much energy, and I feel as if the energy, we're human being, of course that's what you want, fine, but my energy should be like, let's talk, you know, or whatever it may be, but no games, absolutely no. I said once you start with it once, it kind of get addicted. I was talking to a guy before, earlier, about an hour or so ago. He was an ex-boxer. He had a red eye, you know. He
Yeah,
can't see a lot.
Sulle. I know him,
Sulle?
Sulle.
Yeah,
He's amazing.
yeah, he's pretty good. And he wanted to play a game, and I was like, no, I'm not really into the game. So you want to talk? And we talked for a few minutes, and he was like, pretty cool guy, you know. It turned out that he's like, you know, playing the games is very addictive, and he's like,
That's right.
I said, no, I am not going to. And then, and being what do you call it, a guard also. You work as a guard in Stockholm. And I was like, I said, that's cool and all, but you know, you also need the other eye to see what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know, and now he's han är sjukskriven, you know, from work, so because of the eye. So it's like, you got to take care of yourself. And in the other eye, just because he was just training, probably got hit so a certain way, it's affecting the other eye. So I was like, man, you gotta think about your future. You know, without your eye, you can't work. Then it changes your life. You know, and he's
100%.
like, yeah, you'll be depressed. I said, no, it's not about depressing. It's just that you would just change your life to where you don't want to go. And I have a buddy right now, you know, he's losing one of his sight. He's hopefully in a cataract in the eye. And so important that he has his eyes. And we're about the same age. Imagine losing your sight at this age. It's crazy. So
That's one thing as well. When you, if you imagine losing your eyes, then maybe somebody can start to appreciate your eyes and your healthy body and your like family and everything like that. So I think it's a good message as well to like
I
try
just
to
gonna,
appreciate the small things in life. You know, we as a people, we're always chasing after things. You know. And sometimes we are chasing as fast or as much as we are losing this time at the now, you know. And that
exactly.
makes every moment of the day or whatever it is, it makes it so unspecial, or it makes it so, you know, unspecial. So I try, yeah, easy, unspecial. I try to like sometimes just be, you know, and I have kids, so it's like a responsibility for us as well
There you
to
go.
try to make them, you know, to be a good person that will to have self-esteem, to like to not always just do what this government or this system is making us
system, yeah,
our kids.
right.
Just to like do something and then get it done, and then you go to the other side or the other you know, assignment. So I'm
Right.
trying to learn them, you know, in the process.
Broaden your thinking, open your mind a little bit, and that's one of the things. I have my son right now. My daughter is the same way. My son is learning to. He's going to be working in the film industry. Um,
Hey.
and yeah, he's studying what they call visual magic.
Oh,
And he can
great.
do all these things, but he's become more creative. His mindset is actually changing, and he's not into this go to a regular job and do this day in and no, he's that's not him. He's just more. He's a creator. He likes to create things, but he did a couple of movies, small films when he was in
Mm.
school in North Shopping, and he won, for the entire Östergötland. He
Wow.
got
Wow.
trophies, everything, and one of his teachers said when he went on to the more second stage up where all the entire country was supposed to compete, then he came in second. And the teacher turned to him and said, "You know what? Should be a lesson because this is where your future is." And took him a year after school to like figure it out. But then he start now, and he see that wow, there's such a huge world out there when it comes to this. But it's
Mm.
completely different than just working. Nothing wrong with working the 9 to 5.
Absolutely not. Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not saying that, but the fact that he see that his vision, he see how his dad is and mom is. We're
Mm.
visionaries, we think different outside the box. So
Mm.
I love my daughter does the same thing too. So I think that's kind of cool.
Yes, it is, and I think we have some responsibilities as a parents as well. To try to give them the tools to become like a self thinker and not just take everything from the outside and almost be like a robot. And that's the scary part of this new generation, that even the system in schools are like teaching them, you have to do this, and when you finish, tell me, we go to the next appointment. And they are not giving them some time to think about how do we resolve this problem, or take it step by step and not just move on to the results. And
Right,
that's
right, right. Do
yeah.
you know? Do you know that the reason why children, when you go to school, they have you sit behind each other like that? Do you understand why?
I think it's some psychological moves that they have put it in, but no, I'm not quite sure exactly what or why.
Teach you how to work in factories.
Damn.
You
That's
didn't know
deep.
that? Right.
No, that's deep. But what's one thing that I can implement there? It's the school system hasn't been changed for so many years. Everything is it has been changed because when something is not good or when something works, maybe you can make it work better. But the school system, and then I start to think like why? Because maybe the ones who want to like keep this generation to be at a certain way, they want to keep it like that. They are like not giving people or kids, what about like having some classes outside?
Mm.
They don't do that in the nature. Now they have started with this thing. They put QR code on the trees. You have to go and put out your phone. What about like smelling the tree or taking the tree and trying to figure it out, using your senses? So it's like very disappointing that we are the one who is losing, because of this
It's
system.
not it's not a matter of losing, but it's just that we need to open our broaden our thinking a little bit. How we teach the future, which is our children,
Mm.
how they should see the world, because the world is the world is what it is. But at the same time, there's so much to learn. You know, I try. I grew up in the Caribbean. I lived in the U.S. and I lived here. I traveled to many countries, and I talked to people all over the world. And I tell you, I've seen different things. I've seen how different parts of the world operate. And one of the good things I like in Sweden is that Swedes have a tendency. More than 50% of Swedes travel. You know that. and that's very good. And when where I'm from in Jamaica, where I was born, it's about 20% get the opportunity to leave. In the U.S., 2%.
Wow.
350 million people, 2%.
That's very frightening because it's almost like a dictatorship. You know, they don't want these American people to go outside and have some freedom about and see these other things. You know, and feel this because in USA you have so much problem with racism. You know, you have problems
Exactly.
with a lot of
Exactly.
things. You know, and
Right.
that's they managed to keep this standard. You know, about this because of the people who is not traveling. Of course, you have social media, but like I told you, when you go to the tree and you put out a QR code, it's quite different from to go out there and like see and touch and hear and feel and smell, use our senses, you know. So it's very logical that America is it is
It,
logical how they are like responding to some of
right. Right.
these problems, you know, because of this one here that they don't travel as much as other people in Sweden, you know?
Exactly. I saw something in Africa from the Atlantic side to what you say now, the Indian Ocean side, I should say. Um, oh, would you call it the Indian Ocean, or when you're coming down instead of going across the Suez Canal, you come around. But anyway,
I think it's
if you look at the map of
Barents Hall maybe. Barents
yeah,
Hall.
yeah.
Yeah.
If you look at the map of Africa itself, there is a very dry part of it in the middle, all the way across. It's a desert.
Mm.
20 right where the desert meet the green, the desert has been eaten into the green environment so much they want to find a way to stop it. Someone came up with a thing to say, we're going to plant trees, but we're gonna start at the belt where the sand meet the green, and push the sand back. You can't push it back, but you can plant it to slow it down. They do about 24 miles, Swedish mile, across, and the entire length of that where those countries are. And it's how they did it. Certain parts, when you have like rainy season, the rain comes, and because the ground is so dry, it doesn't absorb. It just run and create all this disaster. So now they create like a pit to capture some of the water, but then they plant seeds in the ground. And they've been doing this for like 24 miles into the sand,
Amazing.
right across. And if you see the change now, the last 10 years, it's ridiculous how green it has become. So the green
Wow.
now, they're actually helping the current green to become even greener and use the new green to slow the sand down. And it's working. Now,
Wow.
the reason why I'm talking about is that they're doing this without the technology, just normal people doing this. Villages, people that barely have anything, are doing this. And I think that is, like you said, go out and smell the tree, find out what's going on. We don't work with nature as we should. Instead, we try to destroy it.
Yeah, and if you like, if you just like use your history before how it was, and from now, many things that were like created before, there are inspiration for some people who is making things now. You know, you have these pyramids. You know, how did they build it? They don't even know now. They have some methods or they have some, you know, hypothesis, but they don't know actually. So that means this technology can be good, but it can be very faithful, bad for us as well. And one thing that you talked about Africa, it's very interesting. It's so much bigger than this map in the world shows. If you see it like compared to America or something in the world map, it would look like very tiny. But the actual like size of Africa, it's so much bigger. You can just by watching, only like these numbers of how how big it is in kilometers and things like that. You will actually see how much it's like. I'm not quite sure, but it's so many times bigger than the Africa, the Central Africa, and everything like that.
If
Yeah,
you take this is Africa, and
mm,
you put it in Europe, it will actually swallow Europe.
100%.
You can simply fit the entire Europe in Africa,
Mm,
and you still have more. If you look at
mm,
South America,
yeah.
you can fit this in this.
Mm. You see how manipulated everything is.
Exactly.
Why? Because they have this, this a way how to like belittle people or some places of Earth, because when you're big, automatically you are, stronger, you are more wealthier and everything like that. So the manipulation they are doing to people is like they're making them small, and they are like doing everything they can to separate colonies and countries from each other, because they don't want them to become or grow, by faster, or they don't want to grow into each other, because then they get a superpower, and that's not good for them.
It's funny. Astronauts that goes up, that flies around the few that's outside the Earth. They say when they look down at the Earth, we don't see any coloration. We just see a Earth.
Wow.
I mean, if the power that there's like, you're trying to say that there's a border. There is no border nowhere in the entire world. There, man create that border. Like you said, you
100%.
divide certain things and call it your own. I call it the seven monkey syndrome. You ever heard of the seven monkey syndrome?
No, actually not. No.
You take seven animals, so monkey, let's call it that. That's whatever, maybe
Mm-hmm.
seven dogs. But then
Okay. So.
you put them in a room with a ladder, and then on top of it you put all these bananas. For everyone that try to climb the ladder, then you basically squirt water on them to get off the ladder. Now then you remove one, and then you put in a new one. The new one comes in not knowing that they're gonna get wet. But then if you try to climb the ladder to get the banana, and while everybody is on the ground, he's like, why ain't I getting the banana? They're gonna fight him because they don't want to get wet anymore. You see
Yeah.
this and
And
then
the third dog won't even do that, because of like not the pressure, but maybe the energy that these other dogs are giving him. The
right,
same is with one horse. If you have some, how do you say, a tie on him, many
right.
times. After a while, you just need like your hand to like do like this, and he will follow. And they are using that psychology on us
Right,
people.
exactly. And I saw that on a Discovery Channel. The lady just she didn't put nothing on the horse. She just went like this, and the horses follow. I mean, we're
Yeah.
talking something that's over 2 ton, or 1.5
You see?
ton. Just by coming next to his feet and hold him, he like, because that's all he knows. And
Yes.
and that's
And
what I
that's
mean.
what they are doing with us as well. They love to make us behave on a certain way. Of course, a certain way should be like, respect each other, but I'm talking about thinking outside the box, when you are capable of using your head to like put yourself in different scenarios to gain maybe economical wealth, or maybe freedom, or whatever it is, then it should be a very positive thing, but not for everybody, because this other countries, or one thing that I am like thinking now, it's like many countries that say we are a democratic country, we are
Democracy.
democracy, yeah, democracy, but is it actually a democracy when they are like, they say you can choose whatever you want, but they make you have no other, alternatives. Because if you're sick, they coming to you and they say, "Oh, vote for me because we will do everything for the sick." And if you are like, whatever it is, they will come and they will lie to you and say to you. So they have just like different. This dictatorship to a more sophisticated way how to bring it inside people, and that's what I'm talking about. It's so bad because we people are so we all learn from the school from the early age to just almost not listen but just to do as everybody else. So we got the problem there with this new generation.
And that's why it's called the seven monkey syndrome.
Yeah.
It's never going to change. It's something's already engraved in people that we don't know anything else. Even if you go to university or you want to become a doctor or whatever it may be, it's so engraved in us all, and we rather live for the lie than the truth. It's a simple thing.
That's tragic. That's very tragical because
Yeah.
people who
But
risk, that's when you gain something. Because if you don't risk, then you're just like everybody else, and everybody else is doing what everybody else is doing. So it's like it's very interesting because if you take the whole population of the whole world, you have very small percent, who is the top.
right,
This unicorn industries,
right,
and that's because they have somebody who is willing to give everything, and once in a quite many millions, or maybe once in a billions, you will find somebody who thinks outside the box. If he hasn't been stopped before, he
right.
will continue, and then he's going to get benefits from it. But the system is going to make everything for you to make it hard for you,
The
until
system
you
will
get past.
right. The system is going to do everything in its power to slow you down.
Yeah.
When I
Just like
first
Trump,
started,
and Hillary, when they had this big debate on the first time, Hillary said, "Ah, you don't pay taxes," and he says, "Why should I? I'm smart. You are using this tax code for your gain, so why shouldn't I?" So it's like they are trying to, they give you some obligations, but they are using, some other type of gains that's benefiting them. But they put restrictions on normal people so they can use, So it's like a very corrupted world, but,
everything about how things are. If you look at how things are designed, is designed for the small man to pay for the bigger person. And if you notice, the bigger you become in a certain whatever it may be, there's always the one that below you that pays the price for everything, and that will never change. Whether or not we can talk about it until we die, it's never going to change because that's you call it the sheep. Do you ever know the reason why they put a bell on a sheep or a cow? So the flock can follow.
wow. It's so
That's it.
deep, You just think
Yeah,
because so the herd can hear, but it's like you say, the psychological thing that does with these other sheeps.
right. This is why when an animal, or should I say, domesticated animal is born, the first thing they hear is that ching ching ching, and then they grew up hearing it with one animal carrying it, and the only thing they can do is follow along. You can do that with goats, you can do it with birds, you can do it with anything else, and that's how some nation, or should all nation, treat your fellow human being.
Yeah, and one thing
And I don't
that's
like that.
very interesting. One thing that's very interesting because I work with sales.
Yeah.
And I'm that type of person, you know, that I always try to find new ways of doing it better.
Right. Right.
So I've like tried some things, you know, and the thing is, like, when I tried this, I said your neighbors did this, or they buy this, or they like this. Automatically, something starts inside their heads, you know, and that's why I'm telling you about this sheep, you know, movements. The same here. Your neighbors, you are like using some. You are giving them, or you know, you are giving them some courage that you are
Right.
do like how everybody else is doing, and then they start to like get more interesting, you know,
Right. Right.
interested. So it's like very interesting how sales works, because you just use like this revolution of a person, how we work, and then
Mhm.
we are using it to benefit. And it's quite bad, because sometimes you maybe don't need this thing, but they are giving you some good, you know, quotes, or
Right.
some good talk
Right.
about it, so you almost think, what, I didn't want to buy this, but now
Right.
I'm sitting with a 5 pair of this, you know. So
It's funny you said that, right? This minute, I'm sitting here sending emails to companies in one area in Portugal, about 2,300 of these clients. And every one of them, I do it individually. But you know what? I create like a conversation just in that one area. Because they're all going to say, wait a second, you got an email from that? Wait a second, you got an email from that person? And all of a sudden, everybody's going to look. For the few that's like, well, if you're going to buy it, I want it too. It's the same. Listen, I've been in sales all my life.